I received a message today that wants to come through around where we can sometimes create labels and make our behaviors right or wrong, or make the behaviors of others right or wrong, or the opinions or the stances. And, of course, there's been so much of this in the world recently, but this actually came up because I had been feeling into some areas in myself where I could feel that sometimes when I was expressing, my intention was to express what my beliefs were. And what I could feel was that there was sometimes this flavor of like the anything else is wrong, or like not as good, or my way is more right, or my opinion is more right, or what I've figured out is more right in some way. And I really wanted to feel into this because as I was reflecting on that, what was actually being reflected to me in my world was how hurtful this was to the people around me, though it wasn't my intention at all. And so as I felt into this, I started to recognize where I was actually making myself wrong for the ways that I was showing up, the ways that I was reacting or responding that had hurt the people I love. And how easy is this for us to really get down on ourselves when we've hurt the people that we love, especially if it's hurting our children. That's one of the biggest spaces for me that it really hits my heart, that the reflection really comes through strong, right? And we can really make ourselves wrong for that because it hurts to hurt the people that we love, right? Even when it's unintentional. And so I started to dance with this layer of where I make myself wrong. And it's interesting because I held this view that I've shared before, that in the external world, when somebody does something hurtful to someone else, it is a result of their accumulated pain, and not, it's, if they knew better, they would do better. If they could be better, they would be better. And so I've gotten a sort of deeper, more embodied, personal exploration of this. It's like I held this perspective and this knowing, this awareness, right? But it's like there was something in my body that was incongruent with that, and it was coming through in my interactions, and it was being reflected to me in the ways that my interactions were hurting others. And so, yeah, as I felt into those layers, and I started kind of talking, my process is talking with my inner masculine, my inner feminine, or talking with this part of myself that feels this way. And so what came through was, a feeling of being wrong for showing up and hurting those people. Like, what a terrible mother I am, or what a terrible person I am, for how sometimes these words can come out and the way that they can sound, the way that they can land, when that feels so out of alignment with the core of who I am and my intention, right? And isn't it interesting how that can happen? Regardless of what our intention is, the way that it comes out is sometimes, it can sometimes be not what we intended. And so then another big layer, kind of a big awareness came through, where it was like there were so many parts of myself that I was making wrong for how I was showing up, that the other parts of the self wanted to prove to me. It's like I needed to prove to myself that I was right, that I was okay, that what I had chosen that felt right for me was indeed right, And so that's where this flavor of that would come out, this flavor of, well, yeah, but this is I have all of the knowledge, the experiential wisdom, the exploration, the research, the whatever to back up what is right for me, right? And then, of course, I've chosen what's right for me based on my experiences, based on my accumulated knowledge, and this is what we all do. We choose what feels right in our body based on our cumulative experience. And what we can then sometimes do is try to make up for those places where maybe we're making ourselves wrong and project out, this is right for me, so it's better. I'm right? And it's not the intention behind it. That's not the awareness behind it at all. But this is what my body was telling me that it was feeling. This was the underlying feeling that was beneath all of this. And so, my process, of course, was to begin to hold those parts of myself with the same understanding and awareness that I held up here for the external world, which is that I am always doing the best that I can with what I have. And sometimes the best that I have and the best that I know comes out in ways that hurt other people. And that actually is not the part that's wrong. That's actually not wrong. And I want you to hear me out, because that can, when we start translating it to the world and what we see around us, that can be like, well, no, hold on. There's a lot of wrong happening out there, right? There's a lot that feels very wrong, that can be experienced, that we see happening in the world. And this doesn't condone behavior. There are natural consequences. And even when we hurt others, even if we don't make ourselves wrong for that, there are consequences that we need to be accountable for, that we need to be held accountable for. In fact, the thing that actually I believe that's wrong, if we want to label something as wrong, is not the behavior, but the lack of accountability for the behavior. Because it's okay for us not to know better, and it's okay for us to show up from coping mechanisms, and it's okay for us, for those to sometimes hurt the people that we love, and that feels terrible for them, and it feels terrible for us. But we can use that as a catalyst to take accountability and say, wow, this is really hurting the people I love, and that really hurts me, and this really doesn't feel in alignment, and follow that feeling. Take responsibility for that and follow that feeling inward rather than projecting externally. And really find, where is this coming from, and start listening to those pieces and parts of yourself that are showing up the way that you are, and start listening to those feelings inside, that little voice inside that has this piece of the puzzle that's not rational, that's not logical. And so, yeah, I think accountability feels to me like the big missing piece of the puzzle. And so I was able to bring this thread to a space of wholeness and its expression by accepting and loving these parts of myself for even in their imperfection. Loving, and a huge layer that came in with this was also that we deserve tender, compassionate love, even in our imperfection. And part of one of the layers that I've really had to dance really strongly with this in holding others in this space, it's obviously with our children, we are that space of safe, tender, compassionate love where we create the safe space for their experience. The same way that we need to create the safe space for our own internal experience, right? We are that safe space for our children. They rely on us to provide that safe space for them, that tender love, that safe love that loves all of the pieces and parts of who they are. What about when it comes to the rest of the world, right? To me, what feels true in my body is that I can love every piece of who you are, and I can see all of the pain beneath it, and I can accept all of that. But what I can't do is keep receiving you if you can't take accountability, because there are consequences to your actions, to your words, right? To the things that you do as a result of what's inside. So this is where our boundaries come in, right? Because just because we love someone and we can have that compassion for their experience, that does not mean that we have to receive in and continue to allow that experience to hurt us. And it doesn't mean that that person should not be held accountable and experience consequences that are sometimes really deeply painful and really, you know, depending on what the action is, they can be huge consequences for the things that we do as a result of the pain that we have inside, that we are vomiting out in the world and bringing out into the world, right? So there's this dance that can happen, and I truly, truly believe that the only way to reflect to an individual, you know, there's this dance. I can't say the only way to reflect. So there's this dance of unconditional love and acceptance for the experience and also these consequences. And sometimes it's the love and acceptance of those parts of ourselves that we didn't recognize were hurting that can bring us into that space of reflection, internal reflection. And sometimes it's those really deep, powerful, hurtful consequences that get our attention, right? And I believe that the universe kind of weaves with us so beautifully to bring us experiences of both. And then we choose what we react to. We choose sometimes what it is, and we don't choose consciously, right? We don't choose consciously, but it is really up to us. It doesn't have to be the painful consequence that wakes us up to what we're doing. In my case, often it had been growing up, and sometimes it still is. Sometimes I learn things the hard way, and we all do, right? Sometimes it takes that really hard emotional hit or that really chaotic situation for us to wake up to the cycle, for us to wake up to the incomplete trauma cycle within us. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can also have things reflected to us out of unconditional love for those pieces and parts. And this, to me, is what safety is in a relationship. This, to me, is what safe love is, and a safe and respectful interaction in a relationship, where both people have enough awareness to go inward and to become aware of their cycles. And we'll always have blind spots, right? But that safe love can come in and reflect to us where what we are doing might be hurting them, and either gently bring us back inward or create some space for us to go back inward, or, you know, even maybe ask some really tender questions about what might be happening inside, and maybe go inward with us. And so, you know, that dynamic is going to be, you know, that's going to be different for each relationship and where they are in their relationship. But yeah, I just felt that this message was one that was ready to be shared with the world, and one that we really need when we're navigating our relationships, and when we're navigating all of the things that we're seeing in the world that are so really hurtful right now, and when there's so much blame and projection and wanting others to take accountability, and lots of feelings of not being safe, right? And so, to leave a comment, if you resonate with this, you can send me a direct message, or you can comment directly on the video itself.